Alright, so I didn't realize I was going to make part 3. Okay. Is God real or not? Well, yes, of course God's real. Oh, by the way, this is Mike Colleen, MikeKollin.com. MikeKollin.com. Alright, so when people come... Okay, so in the last video, part 2, I used wine and some other things as an example of... Okay, so like, and I said the last video, it's like, you know, people that say they don't believe in God, the last video was basically saying, look, if you can't open up to the right side of your brain, which is the creative, emotional, spiritual brain, you're not going to believe in God because you don't have an experience in it. It's just like if there was a fruit from Mars that I've never seen or tasted or heard of, why would I believe in it? So until I have that experience, you're not going to believe. So I used wine tasting as an example because when I was younger, I couldn't stand wine that was made in the oak barrels in Napa. I'm from Napa, by the way, mentioned in the last video. And I liked the one that was on the metal barrels, and all the adults laughed at me. And I'm like, well, because me and my girlfriend at the time were 16, 17 years old. I think we were 16, actually. I'm like, why are you? No, actually, I think we were in 10th grade. So maybe we were 15. No, I think we were 16. But the point being is, yeah, so that's 16. So the point being is, like, you have to develop a taste for wine. You have to, there's another word for it. You have to develop your palate. And I remember when they said that too, and I'd heard that before. I thought, oh, that's bullshit. Because honestly, I really thought, okay, this is a perfect example now that I think about it. When people would, you know, drink wine and say they could smell the rose perfume smell or the whatever, the slight hint of cherry, the slight hint of oak wood flavor, I just thought they were full of shit. I did. But I mean, for years now, I grew up in Napa, and you know, my friends' parents would, you know, sip the wine, and at the time I didn't know that you weren't supposed to gulp it like you drink beer, right? You're supposed to just sip a little bit and swirl the oxygen, the air over the wine on your tongue, because once it's oxygenated, you can get more of the flavor. I didn't know any of this when I was a kid. When I was in high school and growing up, I thought, you know, it's alcohol. You drink it to get drunk. I mean, I was a dumb teenage kid. I didn't freaking know. So as I got older, I started learning these things. And as the guy said, he goes, you're young, so you haven't developed your palate yet. And again, it's like, your tongue is your tongue, that's your palate. It's like, what do you mean develop? It's freaking got taste buds. Well, you have to begin to develop to begin to notice the difference between wine that's made in oak barrels versus wine that's made in metal containers or, you know, aluminum, whatever they were. I forget what they're made out of. And so it's the same thing with people that have never learned how to open up to the right brain. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but I've got a point here. It's like, or another example, I should say. So people that say they don't believe in God, they might actually not believe in God, and that's okay. Okay? Just follow me here. Okay? In other words, they might not be lying or being just a freaking little bastard, is what I'm trying to say. Because a lot of things, okay, I remember growing up as a kid, you hear these wonderful things, but you're like, okay, well, what am I going to have? You know, I pray to God all the time. I don't hear God. I don't feel God. Like, what are you talking about, you know? And you get these older people or people that are, you know, 20s. And, oh, my God, I had a spiritual experience. Like, what? Again, just like the wine, I thought it was bullshit. All right? So, having spiritual experiences or experiencing God is something that you have to open up to. Some people, for whatever reason, they can open up easy. Some people, they have to, like men in general, are very left-brain people. So again, the right brain is the spiritual, creative, emotional, open brain, which is open to God. So people that are left brain, it's going to be a little harder. You're going to have to do your stretching. You're going to have to connect with your body, because when you connect with your body, it opens you up to your right brain. So wine tasting, that's another way. You sip a little bit of wine, and what you're doing is you're developing your connection to your right brain, because the right brain is the brain that processes see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. So the more right brain activities you do, the more you open up to your right brain, the more you're going to have this spiritual experience. Or at the very least, more in-depth experiences, whether it's tasting food. Because as a kid, I grew up in an Italian family in Napa Valley, and we had pasta, and my mom and dad owned 2 restaurants. My grandma and grandpa owned restaurants. My Uncle Kenny owned, I think it was 11 restaurants or something like that, 9 restaurants at one point. It was ridiculous. I grew up in an Italian family of cooks. That's all I knew. I didn't know until I got older and I started eating at my girlfriend's house, and their cooking sucked. I mean, dude, it was horrible. And then I went to this other people's family, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a great cook, and I ate the food. It was just like pork chops that were burnt. It was like, okay, you know, but they really believed they were great cooks. And so it wasn't until I had those experiences that I started to go, oh, okay. So here's my point for this video. I'm going to wrap this video up. People, all right, if you don't go to church, if you don't sing those hymns and those songs that really opens, because the songs, the melody, the beat, the rhythm, the notes were designed to open you up to your spiritual side of your brain. And then prayer opens you up, because the right brain is the creative brain. Prayer is a creative experience, a process. Visualization, right? A lot of athletes are very spiritual because you're using your physical body. You focus, you pray a lot. You do all those things that develop this ability. Now, I'm not saying all athletes believe in God. I'm definitely not. Definitely, some are really logical dudes. So, my point is this. If you don't work hard or put some effort into developing this over a period of time, you're never going to have an experience of God. So no shit you don't believe in God. And I don't even blame you. I'm not going to sit there and give you shit for it. But the funny thing is, these people that say they don't believe in God, man, do they spend a lot of time proving to us something that they don't believe exists. And to me, that's the most retarded thing, really. So you're spending all this effort convincing me that you don't, that's like right next to me. There's not a car right now. There's literally not a car next to me. And I'm going to sit here and spend all this time convincing you there's no car there. There's not real. There's no car. It's like, all right, fine, whatever. Okay. It's also equivalent to somebody. Have you seen those YouTube videos where people, they don't see color? And then what happens is someone comes along, and the new invention is these new glasses. And when you put these glasses on these people that are colorblind, all of a sudden, boom, they can see the color, and they burst out in tears because it's an overwhelming right brain overload of sensations. And that's why they break down. They'll tell you later on, like, it was just so overwhelming. It's like, because all of a sudden, boom, boom, color, color, color. It's like all of a sudden you're tapping into your right brain, and your right brain's the emotional brain. And of course you're going to cry when you're finally opening up to it. Crying opens you up to your right brain, by the way. So, music that makes you cry. If you listen to a song over and over that's, very emotional, it makes you cry, that'll open you up to your right brain. So, my point is this. I would love to talk to someone who was colorblind their whole life. And then one of their family members, or maybe they went to the doctor and bought it themselves, because I think they're kind of expensive. But they're these glasses you could put on that just, like, people that are colorblind, boom, all of a sudden can see color. I would like to talk to one of those people and say, hey, when you were growing up as a kid, by the time you're 12, 14, 15, 16 years old, maybe even 20 years old, did you start to think that people were full of shit when they said they could see colors? Did you think, like, everyone around me is full of shit, and they're sing these things called colors, which I've never seen before in my life? I would like to talk to them because I wonder if they really believe that. It's very possible. It's the same thing with people who don't believe in God. They don't believe it's real because they can't see it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's okay. Let me give you one example. Wrap it up. The last thing in the world that I think I'd ever want to do is welding. I just have no interest in it. I just don't care. It's not worth my effort. It's not something I'd ever want to do. So let me tell you something about me. I don't know jack shit about welding. I don't know anything about it. I really don't. So imagine I walked up to a welder and said, oh, you're a TIG welder. Oh, okay, yeah, wink, wink, thumbs up, bro. Because that would be the equivalent to someone saying, no, I don't believe in God, or I believe God is Santa Claus, right? That's what they believe. A lot of these people that say they don't believe in God, number one, they've never read the Bible. Number two, I don't know where they get this from. Somebody must have been teaching this. Well, Christians believe that God is up in the clouds looking down on us. He's a white man with a big, long white beard like Santa Claus. I've heard this so many fucking times. I'm like, where does it say this in the Bible? It doesn't. So that's when I started. I'm like, well, where did you study the Bible? I'm like, well, I've never studied the Bible. I'm like, you haven't? No. How many times you've read it? Well, I've never read it. I go, not even a little bit? I'm like, no. How often did you go to church? I've never been to church. I go, so you don't know jack shit about this subject and you're sitting there arguing about it like you're God and you know everything about the Bible? Jesus Christ. Why don't you read it before you argue it? So here's the point. It would be equivalent to me walking up to a welder and trying to convince him that what he's doing is that he's full of shit. There's no such thing as TIG welding or arc welding, or I don't know. I'm not a welder, so forgive me if I'm bumbling the words up. Or it'd be the same. Okay, now watch this. Here's the most insane thing. A brain surgeon? Really, bro? You're God? You're going to cut open someone's brain and you're going to do surgery? You're so foolish. What a load of shit. What a crock of shit. Like, I could imagine someone saying that. You know why? Because I don't know jack shit about brain surgery. It is a far-fetched concept that somebody can actually fix someone's brain. That just sounds nuts. But I don't know nothing about it. I didn't go to college for 12 years to study, the human body, to study the nervous system, to study the brains and cells. So how would I fucking know? But to sit there and have the arrogance to go up to someone who spent a lot of time learning something and say, oh, I don't believe in that. Bro, you're just a dumbass. So that's my video series on is God real or not? Yeah, God's real. If you haven't spent time to connect with God, to find out about God, to search for God, that's probably a better way of saying it, then shut your trap because you don't know. Peace out, guys. God bless you guys.